doing? All right, good. Let's roll.
Nothing? All
Look
good?
at you. Yeah, let's go.
What would you make of just your team's offensive performance?
Yeah, very poor performance. Yeah, very, very disappointing across the board. You know, obviously the first 4 drives we didn't do anything, and got our team in a hole because of it. And you know, you just can't play football like that offensively. And yeah, there were some bright spots. There were some things that that were very positive individually and collectively, but all in all, a very disappointing performance for us as an offensive unit.
Was that slow start something you thought? Was it surprising to you? Was there any signs throughout the week or that day?
I think that's a fair question. Yeah, I mean, I think the short week, and we had two live practices, and I didn't really perceive. The answer to that is yes and no. We weren't as sharp as maybe that you would hope to be, but it wasn't anything. I don't think that was alarming. And I've been a part of all that. I've been a part of where the week was a mess and the game is a thing of beauty, and I've been a part of where the week was beautiful and the game was a mess. It goes. We've all seen that as coaches, and so you do try to look back and look for, clues. Did I see this coming? Did I see the slow start coming? I didn't. But we certainly did, and it affected us in a very negative way.
Barry, obviously there were some pass protection issues on the right side. How are you guys evaluating that, and whether we need to mix it up or change something?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing you always look at is from an offensive coordinator standpoint is what could I do better to help our guys. Obviously when you get in the situation that we got in, because of our poor performance early on. And I'm talking offensively, like we got in a situation where you're down a significant amount of points fairly early on in the game, and now you're a little bit off script. You're a little bit, let's say not off script, but you're throwing the ball more, and they know you're throwing the ball more, and so then you're putting your guys in a little bit of a vulnerable position there from a protection standpoint, and so. The answer to that question is it's like an all-encompassing evaluation. Is what could we have done differently? Could we have done some things? And we did some things to help in protection, but not all the time. Could we have done more to help our guys schematically? Obviously we got to avoid getting in obvious passing situations where everybody in the whole stadium knows it's about to be a pass. That's what the defensive line wants. A defensive coordinator wants when you're 3rd and 16 and everybody in the stadium knows they got to throw the ball here. That's a tough situation to be in. We got to avoid those, but we also got to improve, in how we're calling it and how we're executing it when it comes to pass protection.
I guess, what have the first 2 weeks maybe meant for your run game, just because maybe you haven't been able to go to it because you've been playing catch up?
Well, that's true. I mean, I was really pleased with the way the front in the called runs early in the game about how we were targeting things and how we were playing and moving the line of scrimmage and creating holes for our backs, and our backs were running hard. And really in retrospect, I think even despite the gap in the score, that's something we probably should have held on to just a little bit more, as far as the run game. So I think we made some strides there, and I liked what we did, even though that didn't show up really because we kind of got away from it. But what we have to do is we have not had the opportunity, or we hadn't established what our identity is just yet. And going into week 3, that's a challenge, and we've got to make sure and get that fixed and corrected to where we get our identity of we want to be a physical football team, and our guys are playing hard and physical, but we've got to be a balanced offense. And obviously the other day we started off, I think, fairly balanced as far as the calls go, and then it got really skewed late in the game. So. The games have been kind of quirky, but that's nobody's challenge, or we created our own challenges in that regard because we haven't been able to stay on the field enough early in the first half.
Barry, in spite of what you characterize as a poor performance in these first 2 games, how have you gone about being so much more successful in the red zone?
Well, I think guys are making plays, and I think we worked hard in the spring and the summer and fall camp of trying to be a little bit more rigid there about what we're doing, and the systematic approach a little bit about what our guys can expect. And so right now we're executing at a nice level. That's going to be important that we keep that up, all the while bringing our normal operating open field early downs, early in the game execution along with that. But that has been a bright spot for us, and obviously that's something that we want to be able to continue.
Coach, what have you seen from the vertical passing game? Is this something you want to get more out of, stretch the field a little bit more?
It is, and I know our guys want to do that, and there was some some plans to get involved in that, and they just didn't unveil themselves the other day for various reasons. And but I'm very confident in our ability to do that. I really am. And it's going to be something that we're going to be challenged a lot during this season with low safeties and low corners. That's just the nature of this business and this league. That's what they're going to do, especially when they know we want to try to run the football, and we've got to be able to loosen people up better and more effectively.
You know anything about your quarterback through these first 2 weeks specifically?
I think he's really tough. No, I don't think he is. He's tough, and he's displayed that, and I think he's a good player, and he's a young player that learns every time he's out. But I think he's a good football player, and he's a really good quarterback, and I think he's for the first couple of weeks he's played pretty well. There's some things he'd like to have back the other day, but again, when the O-line and him and everybody gets put under more stress when we're in obvious passing situations, and when we're balanced, he's gonna be better for it. But his legs have been a really nice bolster to our offense, and that's been a really nice addition to us, and I like where he's at. Things to improve, certainly. We got to take care of the ball at the end of the game and keep the game alive. Thought he made a really tight window throw that was an accurate throw, but probably from a decision standpoint needs to be flipped out in the flat and live for another down, because we have enough time there to get back in it with a score. So just little things like that. There's always something to teach and learn off of, but I do like where Luke's at.
Brett talked about finding an identity on short yardage situations. What do you feel like that identity is being, where the struggles have been there?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously try to, I wouldn't say a gimmick play. That's something that we've practiced probably for 8 weeks last year, never called in the game. And then we put it back in for, week 2. I was very confident in, Griffin's ability to execute that. And just quite frankly, I mean, like they made an incredible play on the play. I mean, the mic just triggered right on the exact right timing of the snap. He didn't see it till late and just ran through and disrupted the gap where we thought we could have access to. And, sometimes when you draw them up, you don't, they make plays, and they made a play. And so that's kind of, I know you didn't ask me specifically about that one, but we have to be better in that down and distance. I mean, that's a non-negotiable, and there's certainly some things in the works there to help address some of that, and continually, like we're always evaluating that, like what can we do this week, and like what needs to be our focus, and how we're going to do it. And so we're always talking through those things. We got to be better in those short yardage situations. That was a critical moment in the game. To be honest with you, we were 2nd and 4. This has happened to us 3 times. We get on pace early down. We get 2nd and 4. We flip a hitch out there, and we end up being short, which we just shouldn't. We just shouldn't be put in that situation. But then we get to 3rd and 1 and we don't get it. Now we're punting, and it has a snowball effect. That's called offensive execution, right? And we're not executing in sync for 4 quarters yet. We've had 8 quarters now, and we've had some quarters where we've shown up, but we have to show up every quarter, and in particular, in conference play.
Maybe this is too broad, but for plays like that, like those gimmick or gadget, whatever you want, how do you know when the right time? Like, is there any one thing that informs you more than other things, that when to kind of dial that up?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to do your research on who you're playing, what you're playing, the flow of the game. We were very clear about going into the game that our first 3rd and 1, that's what everybody in the whole team knew, that's what we were going to do on the first 3rd and 1. So, I mean, you can see in the game, as soon as he took the field, our guys started lining up in the formation because they knew what was happening. And so I think when you do that, you feel good about that as a coordinator, as a coach, when your guys have practiced it, know what to anticipate, and you're confident and be able to execute it. And just, honestly, they probably just made a better play than we did, and or had a better play call than we did, and that does happen in football. It's my job to ensure that doesn't happen very often, and that's the challenge for me, is to make sure that's part of football. Those guys make plays, and we go against good coaches too, is making sure we don't get stopped on something that is, is it calculated? Is it a risk? Is it, is it really a good sound call? Those types of things.
Penn State, the team played Saturday defensively. They rank up with some of the teams you played before defensively. I'm talking.
Yeah, very impressive. Yeah, very impressive. And, along the lines of some of the great defenses we played last year. I mean, just extremely athletic, disruptive. They come from all over the place. That's a very challenging preparation in that regard. Just schematically part of it, and then it's kind of almost like the polar opposite of Iowa to a large degree. Iowa is so systematic and rigid and well coached, and these guys are just as well coached in a system that's a little bit more creative and freestyle. Not freestyle, that's a bad word, but just a little bit more creative. They come from a lot of different angles and they cut their players loose, and it's a very impressive to watch them play. It'll be a great challenge for us.
For 2 weeks, you've seen at least 3 tight ends have success in a game. You know, do you like what you see out of that room with Tip and Griffin and Henry Boyer?
I do. I like where we're at, and Tanner Arkin would be the 4th one that we feel comfortable with being in the game right now. And but I like where, you know, Griffin's he's got a little something to him that we've kind of recognized over the past year or so, and I know our quarterbacks really are really comfortable with him in like 3rd down situations, and they are as our other guys as well. But so Griffin's kind of earned the right to get in there and be a presence for us in passing situations. But we also ran the ball behind him a couple times the other day, and we're going to continue to do that. You know, when he's in the game, we're going to run the football. And but Tip made a nice play, and I trust those guys, and we need all those guys to play for us because certainly as they control, you know, attempt and strain to control the C gap, that creates opportunities in the passing game that can help us. So I've been really pleased with what they've done so far.
Hank Beatty kind of make the most of his opportunities. Is he a guy we might see a little more of? And can he and Isaiah be on the field at the same time?
Yeah, they can. You know, Isaiah's got, and really Hank does too. They've got enough flexibility. They could go a bunch of different positions, you know, but Hank's probably most natural and comfortable in the slot for us. And Isaiah has a little bit of flexibility to go outside. But yeah, Hank did a nice job. Hank is who we all know Hank is. I mean, like, he's Mr. Steady and consistent, and when you flip it to him, he's going to catch it, and he's a good run after the catch. He's just a good football player. So I was glad to see him catch a few balls and get involved, because he didn't get involved in the first week. As far as from a catching standpoint, I continue to be somebody that I'm sure will get opportunities to make plays for us.
Isaiah Williams isn't going to sneak up on anybody this year. So what's the adjustment for him, for you to maybe adjust to what defenses are focusing on?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, like, we got, I think, play 20 the other day. We were either played 20 or 21 in the game, and he hadn't touched it yet. Now, we had the starter was designed to potentially an RPO to him. The play, I think 8 or 10 was an RPO designed to potentially get to him, and they covered it down both times and gave us the run option, you know. But then all of a sudden, play, I think 21 or 22, he gets the ball and bam, you know, explosive play. Then 23, he gets the ball again, and like, he's a guy that, even though they know we're going to get the ball to him, we got to find ways to get it to him when everybody knows that he's going to get the ball, because he's too valuable to us not to do that.
Is there anything you guys can do in practice to get a quicker start in the first half? Other than that first script drive 2 weeks ago, it's kind of been slow.
Yeah, I think we always are evaluating that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's where it starts, you know. And we try to simulate the game the best we can in practice. Sideline huddle, start it off, you know, here let's go play the game. But to your point, like, that's the only way to get it fixed is through practice, right? That the only way to get these things that are challenged. You just don't wave a magic wand and say, guys, we got to get this fixed. You have to go grind, and you have to approach it like that. So yeah, it starts in practice for sure. The way you execute, your attention to detail, and the way I plan, and the things I present to our offensive football team and our coaching staff, like the details, and then the way we execute those things in practice, that's the pathway to getting more consistent, is to go out and earn your way through Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and that's going to be our challenge this week.
The amount that Luke has used his feet, is that kind of what you envisioned when you got him, or has that kind of changed just the way the first 2 games?
It's about what I thought. I think it's very similar to what I did previously before I came here, and that's what I was hoping to get out of him. And so obviously didn't anticipate him having a lot of guys, a lot of great backs, a lot of great running backs that played college football and never probably had a 78, it was out of 75 yard, whatever it was, a long touchdown run like that. You know, that's pretty rare for that to happen in college football. So I certainly didn't anticipate him ripping off, you know, I knew he was capable of doing that. So that's been a good addition to us, but at the end of the day, we want our quarterback to be in the pocket, delivering the ball on time, in rhythm, to help our passing game, making good decisions on whether you're handing it, pulling it, throwing it, and then anything he supplements beyond that is a positive for our offense.
Oh, good, guys.